Today we're going to talk about family stories. As Thanksgiving and Christmas approach, it invites a whole list of traditions and, if we are lucky, quality time spent with our families. During these gatherings, classic family stories are bound to come up and be retold as if no one has heard the story before. But it's probably a family story you have heard over 100 times, and yet it still brings a smile to your face. We all have these same stories, and they're told from year to year, but it doesn't stop anyone from retelling them. And it doesn't make the stories any less interesting to hear. There's a lot to be said about the pleasure of hearing stories about your family. They're personal, maybe funny, shocking, scary, heroic, sad, cute, you name it, but most importantly, they are true. Family stories are so interesting because you can intrinsically vision your level-headed family members acting out crazy events. So this story is about my great uncle Everett, and our family had to clean out his house in order to pay for his time spent at the nursing home. Mom, can you tell me what happened on the cleaning day?
Well, I'll try. Nancy went down with her husband Jack and her daughter Carrie to clean out the house. You can imagine what a mess it was, and because my uncle had lived there by himself for maybe 20 years, and they had to get all of the stuff and catalog it and put it out on the lawn for the yard sale. So she went down very early in the morning and was making pretty good headway when she came across all the artifacts he had brought back from the World War II. He had been a soldier in World War II and had brought back guns, knives, swords. These aren't unusual, but the unusual thing he brought back was a hand grenade. And when she came across it, she recognized it because this hand grenade had been in the house for years, usually in the cellar, occupying different places, sometimes the cellar, sometimes in the living room, but they had always played alongside it, and he had always said, "Don't worry about it."
So they weren't surprised to find it?
No, she wasn't surprised to find it. She knew about it, and she was surprised to find it, but she remembered it, and she called her brother Jackie, asking him about it.
So basically what you're saying is, as you're cleaning out Uncle Everett's house, you find this maybe alive hand grenade from World War II?
Right. So Jackie basically said, "Don't worry about it. They've played with it for years, and it wasn't live as far as they known, and the house had never exploded, and they were all alive. So don't worry about it." So Nancy said, "Okay, we just went about cleaning the house." Carrie, however, was really upset to think that it was there, and she had her little baby with her, so she was thinking, well, this is really unsafe. So she called her husband, who was a state policeman, and he said, "Of course, you can't have that in the house. Only the police can take care of a hand grenade." And some of it was true, like they couldn't put a hand grenade out for a yard sale, can you imagine? And they couldn't put it in a dump. And
What did Carrie say?
Well, Carrie thought it was irresponsible of Nancy and Jack and Uncle Everett to have this hand grenade around where it could harm people.
Okay, and then what happened?
Well, they got Chris, Carrie's husband, on the phone, and he said that they would have to call the police. Nancy was not happy. She thought this was a big overreaction, but in order to please Chris and Carrie, she called the Waterford Police Department. They, of course, said, "Get out of the house immediately. If you have a live hand grenade, it's very dangerous, and go out to the opposite side of the street." And that's where things began to go downhill. So we can.
What do you mean by downhill?
Well, once she got the Waterford Police, they decided they couldn't touch it. It had to have the state bomb squad had to be involved. And when they got a hold of the state bomb squad, they decided they had to have an ambulance and fire engines and a police escort to go down there. So all of this happened within an hour's space of time, and before you know it, Nancy was told to evacuate the house. She found herself on the other side of the street with her husband, and they had come down, circled the neighborhood, and cordoned it off. There was police cars at each end of the street, and then they had gone to each neighbor on each side of the house and in the front and the back, and told them they had to leave and evacuate the house immediately.
You mean every neighbor had to evacuate their house?
Absolutely.
And basically the whole neighborhood?
Absolutely. On a Saturday afternoon.
Then all I can remember is Jack, my cousin, saying that he arrived at the scene as all the neighbors were out of their houses, and Nancy, Carrie, and our other cousin were sitting on the sidewalk at the end of the neighborhood looking mortified, and cop cars were everywhere.
The bomb squad came down, they went in the house, they left the house, took the hand grenade. No one ever found out whether it was live or dead. My Uncle Everett felt like it was a much ado about nothing.
And that's where our story ends, but I'm sure my cousins, Nancy and Jackie, will never forget this mortifying experience, as they had the whole neighborhood evacuated, and the neighbors probably hated them for the next week or so. I'm sure they will be retelling this same story for many years to come.